Hey guys, it's Al from Altruistic Channel, and I'm just touching base with a little bit more information regarding the actual doing the work aspect of when you're working your awakening process and kind of on the ascension path. So, one of the things that people tend to ask a little bit, want more information about, I should say, is regarding what we mean when we say do the work. So, in order for things to progress properly in divine guidance, meeting within God's plan, whatever you believe God to be or whatever you believe that plan to be, you would have to look at the parts of you and that stick out most, whether they're good or bad, and kind of take assessment of whether or not you still would like to keep certain traits or not keep certain traits, or continue certain patterns that you have, or not continue them. So that's basically what we're talking about when you first start. Is when you start to do the work, you're looking at things within yourself that are causing the external world to react the way that it does, or you're creating things and to the external world, and you're trying to figure out why it is you keep creating the same things. And so by doing the work, what you're going to do is look at those things about yourself that you may not like, that need to change, or that you see a pattern to that you would like to rectify. And so by doing the work, you're actually looking at each issue and finding your core value, what you truly believe about the situation, and then whether or not you are going to change it. And then if so, what's your action plan to do so? And one of the things about that is that people get very overwhelmed about the idea that you have to do all of it at once. First of all, ascending is a longer process than just awakening. Awakening is basically just you being aware now of something of higher importance, and that you're part of a grander design. After that, you're going to be on your path, and it's a path for a reason. It's a pathway, and you have to journey down it of your own merit. So the thing is, like, even as a coach for spirituality, I can tell you what to expect. I can tell you what to look for, and I can tell you what the work involves. But I can't motivate you beyond what you motivate yourself. So this is something that you have to like fully integrate into your life, because it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Like most things that are worth it, it's just going to be sometimes a little complicated, because some of the things that you're going to encounter will release other topics or other concerns that you may not have been consciously aware of. And so as you work your way through the pathway, you're going to start to find yourself in a almost like a self-loathing area where you're going to not like exactly who you are. And so that's the moment where you're supposed to like really kick in there and go, okay, well, I can change this. Everything is, after all, within my control. And that's kind of working with God and his plan, right? And as for personally speaking, I should say, for those of us that I've spoken to that are part of the collective, what happens is that when you start to become more in tune with the reality of what you are about and what you do or do not believe in, you're going to still hold on, and you're going to come to reality, a real stance on certain topics where you're not going to improve. Like, you're literally going to keep going with that particular action because it serves you still in life, right? And so if it still serves you, you leave it there. That's kind of a basic principle. But if it doesn't serve you anymore, then you move on. So what I was going to say is that for those of us who, like me, that I've spoken to, the thing that I have found that is when you start to align everything the way that you want it to be, and you start to actually work the pathway, and you start to feel better about yourself, and you start to manifest better and bigger things, it's almost like you tune in a little bit clearer with the divine guidance, right? And so you start to tap into the collective a lot more clearly and a lot more accurately, and the confusion or the not trusting yourself goes away for the most part, and you start to really be able to receive the information as though someone was talking directly to you. And so it's kind of cool. But the question sometimes people, hello, the question that some people have is that. Is it intuitive? Is it an intuitive conversation that you're having, the meaning from yourself to your, like, from the inner part of your voice to your brain, or is this something grander? And I usually go with grander, because if it was still just my voice, I would still choose the same path I was on. Typically, it's someone else's voice that has to come in and kind of like pop me out of whatever I'm thinking. So that's basically what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get to a point where you can actually walk the path of spirituality in your day-to-day and open up those lines of communication with the divine light that is all knowing, and then balancing all of it across your reality. And so then you start to manifest things. So when people say manifest, what they're actually saying is, using the tarot as an example, there's a magician card. And in the magician card, basically what you're saying is that you are manifesting, you are creating something out of thin air with the power of word, which, as we've spoken about in other videos on YouTube discuss, is a magic spell. Words have the power to change life in the way that they're spoken. And so they hold a lot of power if you take it. If you take it to be true, then it becomes true. And so it's the same concept. So basically you are taking thought, though, in this scenario, and you're putting it so much effort and so much energy to focus directly at it, that you're trying to make it grow into something that will actually mature into a real outcome. And so when you do that, that's why they call it manifest destiny. That's the result of that. And so the reason you want to get better at that is because we tend to do it every day, just usually unknowingly. Like a moment of anger can really screw you up, because if you send the anger out and you say it out loud, then and something happens as a result of it, then you have now a negative karma debt. And so this is the type of stuff that you want to work through when you're talking about basics. So, but that's the basic example of that I wanted to start things off with when I was talking about do the work. So when you get into it, you can always seek someone to coach you like me, or you can always find somebody that just speaks a little bit more to you that you feel more in alignment with. But just remember, at the end of the day, we can't make you do this. It's something you want to do for yourself. And more importantly, it's the better path for yourself, because you're taking responsibility for your own life. And you're doing so in a spiritual way that takes care of the body and is in alignment with God. That's the best I can offer you. That's it for me on Al. That's me, Al. And that's it for me on Altruistic Channels. Later.